you turn on the news and the topic is about our school systems, it's usually bad news, especially when it relates to the pandemic. But besides the pandemic, there are other issues facing schools that we need to know about. And to help with that, today we welcome Steve Ashkin with the Ashkin Group, a pioneer in everything green cleaning and sustainability. Hello, Steve, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff. It is my pleasure to be here, and thank you to your audience for listening in.
Thank you. A very important topic we're going to get into. Just have a few questions for you, Steve, because I know you have much to share on this issue with schools and what they need to do. So to tee it up, you recently shared with our audiences a press release about 3 ways that schools can address poor indoor air quality challenges. Just one big issue. The issue goes deep, including a growing gap of funding needed to maintain our public schools. Can you elaborate on that for us?
The first thing that I want to do is obviously thank you for publishing the press release and bringing attention to the issue. And what the release really was about is a new 2021 State of Our Schools report that was developed by the International Well Building Institute, the Well folks, the 21st Century School Fund, and the National Center for School Facilities. And I really want to encourage every one of your listeners who deal with schools to actually download this report. It is really insightful about what's going on in our schools, with lots of good data that really points out some of the problems that we're faced with. And one of the things that really struck me about it was they're saying now that there is an $85 billion annual gap in funding for school operations and maintenance. $85 billion, including the repairs and the things that we have to do to fix our schools. And the thing that really struck me about this report was that they did the same report just 5 years ago. And at that time, the funding gap was only $46 billion. So over the last number of years, the gap has increased substantially. So what this report talks about is the problems with the facilities, the HVAC systems, and I can go on and talk about the various findings. But the main thing is we know it. This isn't a surprise. We know it. And what the report points out to me is we know it and we're not doing enough about it.
That gap is concerning, Steve. Why don't you do this? Tie together what you just shared with us to the health of students.
So the first thing I want to remind everyone is that children are not miniature adults. Right? Pound for pound, they eat more, they drink more, they breathe more than adults. And because of how rapidly their bodies are developing, they're more at risk. Their play puts them more at risk. And also they're young, so they don't know some of the things that are necessary to protect their own health, right? So children are much more vulnerable than adults are. And we know conclusively that, a problematic indoor environment, whether we're talking about the temperature or we're talking about mold issues, we're talking about cleanliness issues, lighting issues, noise issues, directly affects children's ability to learn. And in the report, there were some really interesting statistics in here. For example, there was a study that was done from Harvard, and they found that there was a 12.3% more likelihood for children to fail on a 90-degree day, right? To fail on their test on a 90-degree day versus a 75% day, right? Just simple things like addressing temperature. They also found there was a 17% better performance on academic assessments from students in better buildings. right? There
Well,
was better performance, and we know these things. So not only does it affect children's health and development, but the data is quite clear that the buildings we put them in not only affects the children's ability to learn, it also affects the teacher's ability to teach. And then there's the absenteeism issues and all these other things addressed with it. So it's incredibly important that if children really are our future, we need to take care of them so they're best prepared to succeed in the future and to become the future leaders of our country. We got to take care of these kids.
I think all watching this would agree you need better buildings. Sounds like air conditioning sometimes as well. Interesting information, not surprising. So what we need to do is figure out how to do it, how to make it better. What solutions would you offer, Steve?
Well, obviously, for those in the cleaning industry, we all know the important role of cleaning, right? But one of the things that we also recognize is that there's a huge funding gap here, right? We know how to clean. Our products and equipment work. It's not like we're looking for some magic bullet that will make our buildings magically clean. We know how to do it. The problem is there's not enough money to do it. There's not enough custodians to do it. So the number one thing I want to encourage all of your listeners, especially if they are involved in the school business, right? In the cleaning industry, schools is a huge sector for us. I want to challenge all of you who make money from selling products to schools to actually help take information like this into your schools and communities, to go to school board meetings and help the people there understand how important it is that they fund operations and maintenance. If we're not going to advocate for cleaning, who will? And that's the problem that we're having. We are not advocating enough. We are not beating the drum enough to make our communities understand how important this is. So I challenge every one of us to go to our local school board meetings, to get involved, to talk to other citizens, because it is going to cost more money. Schools are funded primarily at the local level. Over 75% of all funding is from the local community. So we have to be able to get the money to do the job we need to do. And if no one else is going to, advocate for cleaning, we shouldn't expect anything to change. So that's our challenge. We need to get the money to do what we know is important to protect our kids and to get all the benefits that we know are important.